It's high noon.
Hello everyone and welcome to a very special show today. This is the premiere, the kickoff, the very first episode of what I'm at least tentatively calling the OWL Talent Interview Series. I don't know, I'll come up with a better name at some point. But basically we're going to be interviewing Overwatch League, casters, talent, everyone involved that is silly enough to come on the show. And who better to start off and kick off the series than the one and only Hexagrams. Welcome back, buddy.
What up, guys? Long time no see. I think it's been like 3 months, something like that. I don't know. I feel like I do this show pretty often, but it seems like it's been a bit.
Well, you're kind of busy, casting the Overwatch League season 1. Well, I mean, you've been streaming and doing VOD reviews and stuff too, so you've got at least a little bit on your plate.
Another VOD review Friday. I got to start practicing for the talent takedown, so maybe a little streaming tonight.
Yeah, we'll talk a little bit about that later. But let's put a hold on the Overwatch content for a second, and let's jump into what really matters. And this is the Hex Movie Night segment of the show. Hex, one of these days when we're all old and gray, it'll happen. Hex, what should we be watching? What are you recommending?
I answered in my AMA the other day, so it's kind of a repeat, but I rewatched Annihilation and Arrival, two great sci-fi movies that you have to see. I think Arrival I like a little bit better, but Annihilation should be a movie that people support because it's like at least it's doing something different, and you need to support those movies. Otherwise, you just get sequels and trash in the box offices constantly. There's a Western I really liked called Hell or High Water. It's written by Taylor Sheridan, who wrote Sicario and Wind River. So if you liked either of those, give Hell or High Water a chance. It's phenomenal. And then I felt like being depressed, so I rewatched Manchester by the Sea. Casey Affleck, just depressing but beautiful and amazing at the same time. So those are the movies. I haven't watched anything new. I've just been rewatching stuff because, I don't know, nothing new really intrigues me right now. On TV, HBO still reigns because there's a show with... is it Amy Adams? I don't know. I always confuse her with other actresses. Anyway, it's called Sharp Objects, and it might be the slowest paced television show ever created.
Nice sell.
That's also good. That's good because you need to let stuff like that breathe. You need to give it time, and like you have to support stuff like that. Otherwise, you just get stupid popcorn trash on TV. So that's been a show I've been obsessed with. I think that's a mini series that's going to end, I think, in a couple episodes. So you have time to catch up on that one. But yeah, that's what I've been watching lately, and I'm really excited because the new Predator comes out in the middle of September, and my sister is coming into LA the weekend it comes out, so we're gonna go see that because we've been fans of that franchise forever. Even Alien vs Predator, like the Predator and Alien franchises are like pizza to me. Even when they're bad, they're good. I don't care. I don't really give it like it's Predator. It's Predator. I'm gonna watch it. So looking forward to that. That's the next big movie event for me.
I just like how we went from, if you don't support movies like that or shows like that, all you end up with is sequels and garbage, and then we're like, and the 19th Predator movie's coming out, and I'm super pumped about it.
You can like them both, but it's the one is more important to support overall than the other. The other is gonna get made no matter what. I'm gonna go see it because it's goddamn Predator. But you should also support movies that are like good movies and trying to do new stuff and expanding the artistic value of modern film.
Okay. So, speaking of, I swear, listeners, we're not going to talk the whole show about movies. Although that's a different podcast. But I do want to ask you this: speaking of HBO, have you seen the show Barry? Did you see the first season?
Oh, I watched the first season in one night. Yeah, that's great. I love that show.
Okay, I wanted to get your opinion on it because I really liked it, and I didn't want to
Bill
admit
Hader
that.
Is tragically underrated. I think he's wonderful, and he's so good in that role. It's a fun show. It really is, and. Henry Winkler is great. It's good. Yeah, and I watched the entire series in one evening that I couldn't sleep. So
wow,
it's good.
Yeah, Bill Hader was not exactly the character you would think he would be in that show, which I thought really showed his range in that.
It's good. Yeah, there's some surprising aspects to it, and all good stories are surprising. So
yeah, okay. That's a preview of the forthcoming show that we've been previewing for 3 years now.
Been 3 years.
Hex Movie Night. we'll get, believe me, we'll be all over it when it actually launches. But I know you've talked about this, I don't know, probably 1,000 times, at least 2 or 3 times on this show. But for the new listeners, can you just briefly kind of go over what your life was like before Overwatch?
Briefly, I'll do my best. I should just write this down one day and just have it published.
Just like
somewhere
post, just post it up.
Yeah. Okay, so we started casting like 3 years ago in November 2015, and we're coming up on that anniversary rather soon right now. Before that, man, I wasn't really doing a whole lot with my life. I was actually pretty bored, like unemployed, underemployed, and like I taught a little bit, but I didn't really like doing it. Just kind of like doing nothing, just kind of depressed and just eating too much, drinking too much, just essentially just being
I feel like you're personally attacking me right now.
Yeah, so essentially being a bag of shit. So like I was just looking for something to do, and I'd always liked esports. I'd watched StarCraft as my favorite thing to watch. I didn't really play all that much of it, but that's when I knew it could be like a spectator sport. So I'd be watching that, then I saw like a link. Actually, my friend, online friend, sent me a link. He's like, "Hey, you write? This place is looking for esports writers," and it was Gosu Gamers. They're looking for Heroes of the Storm writers, and I was like, "All right, I'll write about Heroes of the Storm. I'll do something, at least give me a deadline, give me something to be doing. That's at least I, get up and do something every day." So I was doing that for a little bit. Heroes of the Storm, it's a fine game. It's just not the game for me. It's okay. People like. I get why you like it. It's fun. It's my favorite MOBA, but that's not saying a ton coming from me. And then like Overwatch was announced a couple months into that, and then I just started talking to my editor, and I'm like, whatever we do for Overwatch, I want to be involved with it. So whether that's writing, whether it's casting, whether it's whatever it is, like this is the game that I'm gonna be looking forward to. So as a TF2 addict, I played probably 3 to 4 hours of TF2 every day during the before Overwatch was ever announced. And so I was like, okay, I'm gonna continue writing Heroes of the Storm. I don't love it, but I just need a beta key. You guys got to get me a beta key. That's all I want. I know I'm a volunteer.
I remember those
days.
days.
You don't pay. You don't do anything. Whatever. But I need a beta key. I'll cover the game. I'll do whatever you want. Give me the beta key. All right. So I worked for Gosu for the remainder of that year, putting out just like a weekly thing about Heroes of the Storm, just making image memes and stuff. It was actually moderately successful, surprisingly enough. Anyway, okay, so that's how I got involved with Gosu Gamers, and then rolls around like November 2015. I'm at my dad's in Wisconsin, dog sitting because I was like just working a part-time work at home gig at the time. So hey, I have 2 weeks off to do nothing and go to Wisconsin. And I ended up bringing my computer with me. I was living in Chicago at the time. I brought my computer with me in one of those giant suitcases, right? My full-on desktop computer and monitor. If like I'm going to be there for 2 weeks, like I had to play Hearthstone. So I got Legend in Hearthstone during that time. And so luckily I had my computer with me. This is not just an insignificant detail, because while I was there, I get a call from the guy at Gosu, and he's like, "Hey, we're going to start casting. Do you want to audition?" If I don't have my computer there, I can't run the game. I can't use my mic. I can't do anything. I don't get this audition, and nothing ever happens. They probably move on. They probably find someone else, and then who knows? So it's serendipitous. I have my computer there, and then ZP, either like we got this guy, he streams Heroes of the Storm with us. It all goes back to Heroes, I guess. And he's got a really good stream set up. He's interested in casting. Do you think you could work with them? And I was like, all right, we'll give it a shot. And then we just had like a 30-minute audition where we casted a pickup game of European players. I think Nico was in that. He played Reaper on King's Row first. And that's just a lot of names that you would recognize who were eventually in the pro scene. So that's how I got my audition for Gosu Gamers, and that was November 28th, I believe. Actually, prior to that was the audition. November 28th was our very first tournament. We gave away $50. Guys like Cool Matt were in it. Siegel played. Like Team Hubris and Team Not Enigma were in it. So that was how we started.
We covered that tournament.
Yeah,
I might have played in it.
Then it was all weekend, every weekend for as often as we could. You wake up one day and you do Europe for 8 to 12 hours, and you do NA for 8 to 12 hours, and then whatever came along, we did. I always infamously tell like the Russian story of like setting an alarm for 3 a.m. on a Saturday so I can get up and broadcast this Russian tournament. But that's like kind of the dedication that we knew we needed right away. We're like, let's do everything. Let's do everything. So no matter what it was, we did every single tournament. So that was life before getting into casting, and then casting went like that for about a year. I didn't get my first like real gig offline event until November of 2016, which was DreamHack Winter. It's where I met Zoe and Uber, and me and ZP worked there. and yeah, and Jason Kaplan was there as well. And then I started getting like some steadier gigs. I was still working a part-time job, which was nice. I actually really liked my part-time job. My boss was a huge Overwatch fan, so my reviews were
nice,
easy. But they would always give me time off to go to do these events, and you know, whenever I needed 4 to 5 days off, they'd be like, "That's fine." So I'd work from home, I'd move schedules around and stuff, but I was making like $800 a month during the year which I wasn't getting gigs, and that was enough to pay rent with a roommate in Chicago in this really nice like rent situation we had found, and feed myself, and like, you know, cooking rice every day for the most part, and then just casting constantly. And then I started getting like gigs here and there, like Beat Invitational, monthly Melee, of course, was wonderful for us because it was monthly and I could count on that. I was like, okay, cool, that's enough money to do this, right? So I knew I had extra income coming in. And then the big deciding factor was, I think, March of last year when Carbon Series called, and they're like, we're going to do 6 weeks. This is the money we're offering. Do you think you can come out? And obviously, like, that's like quit your job or keep doing your job, because you can't take 6 weeks off. Obviously. Right. Doesn't matter what the job is. And so they were very supportive of my job, and I was like, I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to quit. I got to go do this right now. And they're like, well, you know, if it doesn't work out, come on back. But luckily, I
that's
to go back.
it's always nice.
No, it was fun. Yeah, I left on good terms at least. And so we went out to do Carbon Series, and then after that, we got Contender Season 0, and then OWPS, and it's kind of just like freelancing, but gig freelance, like good freelancing. Like, freelancing for Blizzard for a year, and then, like, you know, I got Santa Monica stop, and I got BlizzCon, of course, and so like everything just started going super well, because like the year before, obviously, like, you know, I paid to go out to BlizzCon, and I slept on ZP's floor, you know, just to be there, right? Just
I remember that.
Yeah, and then I get to go and cast BlizzCon and get to cast South Korea versus USA, so that was everything that kind of led up to this. And then OWPS, I think, was the last big gig I had in Denver. While everyone else was doing Contender Season 1, I was doing 4 nights a week of Chinese Overwatch from 1 a.m. to 8 a.m. every day. So even though we were staying in the same hotel, I rarely saw the Contenders guys, because I got to try to sleep. And then after that, then all the OWL rumors started swirling, started talking Blizzard and stuff, and everything kind of evolved from there. And then shit, last year, dream job doing Overwatch League. So I think that's about all the details I want to get in there. I said it's not brief, and I actually could talk a lot more about a lot more stuff, but that's I guess the synopsis of my career thus far.
Sorry, you covered 2 questions there.
Yeah,
kind of seamlessly.
I have one kind of follow up to that. When you got in, or I guess when Overwatch League was first announced, was it like, oh, I need to be in the Overwatch League, and, you know, this is kind of the shot, and if I'm not in Overwatch League, maybe take a time off? Or were you up and willing to continue the grind ad nauseum?
I mean, I guess what you're asking, what would my reaction have been had I not gotten Overwatch League?
Something to that extent.
I would have still done Overwatch as long as I could pay for my life. Like, when you can support yourself by doing something you love to do, then why wouldn't you? Like, I could make twice as much money doing something else, but then hate my job every day. What's the point of that life? So had I not gotten Overwatch League, I would have, you know, hopefully gotten Contenders or something else, or maybe tried to like go full on streaming or create content. But it would have been Overwatch. I'd invest, like, it's not even just like I'd invested too much. It's like, this is what I want to do. So why wouldn't I continue to do it?
Yeah, you got a taste of it.
Yeah, well, it's not even that. I was actually talking about this today at lunch, of like, you know, the grind that people do when they come up, and it's like, if you didn't love it, then you wouldn't have done it for free for a year. Like, you couldn't have. Like, the people who don't love it can't do that, because you see, like, you're like, well, I'm not getting paid. We only have 500 viewers for this tournament. You know what? I'm out of it. And it's like, okay, well, then you were in it for the wrong reasons. You didn't want to do it. Like, that's so, like, if I wasn't getting paid and I had like a 9 to 5, but there was like a tournament that was like 8 to 10 every night, I'd be casting that. Like, because that's what I want to do. Is my favorite thing to do. So yeah, I mean, like, you really cut the wheat from the chaff in esports by having like kind of this internship system of like, well, did you just do it? Did you just do it on your own and for free and for every waking moment of your life? Is that what you were concerned about? No. Well, that's why I'm not talking to you. That's because you're not here. Like, everyone else who I'm talking to did, and that's why they're here.
It's a brief
Well put.
window into why we're not super sympathetic to the plight of the players at any time during the Overwatch League. It's you've got a great job. Try a regular 9 to 5, and then tell me that the schedule's too intense.
I mean, okay, so, yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you to an extent, right? I mean, there's people right now working in a goddamn coal mine.
Right.
The problem is, a lot of these players came right from high school.
Right.
Right.
High school
They're not
so
actually
like,
ready.
You can't even use that analogy of like, yeah, but don't you understand how good they have it? Because they don't. Like,
Right.
They really don't. And they do work their asses off. Like, let's not begrudge them. One day a week off is like not enough, especially given like all the pressure. And then it takes like, you know, again, they were in high school, and now you're on Good Morning America. It's like, Jesus, how does your brain even wrap their way around it? Like, so.
I mean, LeBron James did it. Right?
There's two sides. To it.
Look, I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying. I really do. But like, yeah, it's kind of hard to really bring that to those players, and also like none of us really know what it's like to be a pro player. You have to really ask them and get some honest answers. But there's some guys that I know are grinders and workers and who've lived real lives who have told me like, this is brutal, dude. I'm getting tired. There's so much. And those are people that I would respect their opinion. I think that they're mature. Some of the older guys in the league who, you know, have, like I said, have lived a life and understand the privilege and the work that they're doing at the same time. And even those guys were like, I'm tired, dude. It's a lot.
Yeah, there was like it seemed like in like, it was either like the end of stage 3 or maybe the beginning around some point in stage 4. It just seemed like every single person in the league, players, casters, like everyone just, it wasn't like they were done with it, but it just seemed like everyone was just like beat. Like you could kind of tell at like a subconscious level that everyone was just like, all right, we need to get through this.
Well, stage 1 is like the glitz and the glamour, the confetti's still falling from the sky, and you're like, yeah, all right. And then stage 2, you're like, dude, I get to do this for a job. This is sweet. And then stage 3, you're like, this has been a while, huh? And like it wasn't just like the players or casters, and you walk into that arena, and it just felt like, you know, cameraman, production, makeup, just everyone was just like a little tired. But like when you have that many people, there's always going to be someone who's like got it that day. They have the energy, right? And they'll pick people up, you know. And like when you have it that day, it's like your responsibility to pick people up. And you see it a lot of like, well, I see it a lot in like our duo, right? Or, you know, any casting duo. If I come in and I'm like, dude, I got like 4 hours of sleep last night. Somebody's like, that duo's fine. We're gonna kill it today. Don't even worry. You want to go out after? Like, it just like brings me up, and I'm ready to go. And if like somebody's like, oh, dude, I'm so sore. I worked out for like 4 hours today. I was climbing, and then he's like, just not feeling it today. I'm like, that's all right, man. I'll carry you. Get on my back. Let's go. Like, so you need that shit. Like when you're going through a long season, you need people to pick each other up and be like someone's gonna have it today. Let's all feed off that person. But yeah, you're right. Stage 3, middle of stage 3. That's where I was like starting to feel a little bit of fatigue. But you know, you got to find it somewhere. You got to go on. You can't can't take a personal day, guys. I'm getting a little tired. Someone else cast. You don't really have that option. So.
Or you don't get invited back that next day because the person that comes in is like, yeah, no, this is mine now. Awesome.
Well, that's about as good of a segue as we can hope for into the next group of questions here. We wanted to talk to you about the first season of Overwatch League and from your unique perspective, right? There's like 6 people in the world that have your job for this league. What can you tell? In what ways did the Overwatch League casting experience both exceed and not, you know, fail to meet your expectations from what you thought it would be like going into it?
I think just overall, I don't think you'd find a sane person on the planet who said that the Overwatch League as a whole didn't exceed expectations.
Maybe not on the planet, but on Reddit.
I prefaced it. I said sane person.
Right.
My bad. You covered it.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think everything kind of exceeded my expectations. Just, I guess the one thing I would share is just how easy everyone around us made it, right? So, like, I didn't really, like, I prep a lot, and I still did my end of things, but just, like, I didn't have to worry about anything. Anytime there was, like, a scheduling conflict, like, I don't know if you guys saw the Twitter post of our talent manager, Chris Jansen, but, like, you know, when he posted, like, that picture of all of us at the Barclays, every one of the talent just responds, like, thanks, you're a lifesaver. Like, that guy worked so hard for us and just made life easy for us so that we could focus on our jobs, and I wasn't necessarily used to that. I was used to having to kind of take care of everything else in my life and then also cast. But like, you go there, you show up, and you're like, you have a problem, it gets like fixed for you, and like you get catering, you get just everything's just like kind of done for you, where I can just show up and do my job, and that's all I have to worry about. So it makes it a lot easier. So that kind of exceeded my expectations from a professional standpoint, because I'd never had that kind of luxury of like, if I have a problem, I don't have to worry about it. We have a guy whose job is to worry about our problems. I mean, that's really like kind of diminishing his role, because he's just like this amazing person who just he's like our fixer. He's like Michael Clayton. It's great. Yeah, so I think that exceeded my expectations. And then just the fan reaction of just like, you know, you walk through the arena and just like, hey, can you sign this? It's like, I guess I don't know what you're gonna do with my signature, but all right, you know, like I just overall the reactions. In what way did it fail to meet my expectations? I don't know that it did, and I guess maybe we'll talk about this a little later. But like, I'm a worker, man. I like to work, and I'm losing my mind now that I have time off. It's why I'm streaming. It's why I'm trying to fill my life with as many hours of just like anything as possible, because I like to be working. I wish I would, you know, in season 1 I think we were probably understaffed, undermanned, you know, just like we just didn't have enough people to do all the things we wanted to do. It just, you know, the scope of the thing was so enormous. I would have loved to do just more outside content, whether that be podcasts or just doing some of the shows with the guys as well. And I could have probably pushed a little harder for that, but I didn't want to take on too much early on. I wanted to make sure at least my casting was good. Then doing the VO and stuff, like I just love going to work. I love doing anything that's related to Overwatch. So being able to be on cast 2 days a week, I guess was like failed to meet my expectations, because I'd cast every day if they let me, right? So
we've seen it happen.
Yeah. No, and this sounds like a stupid, like a job interview answer of like, well, I guess I'm just too hard of a worker. But like honestly, I would have liked to do more, and hopefully, you know, I'll be able to get to do more in the future. But that was the only thing that failed to meet my expectations, and I really have to stretch for that one.
Well, somewhere Nate Nanzer is nodding appreciatively. I don't know why, but
yes, we'll get more out of him.
This is not even like the PR answer of like everything. I really have very, very few complaints.
Perfect. Well, again, keeping the topic of conversation on the inaugural season here, obviously, we wanted to ask, you know, you talked a little bit about the kind of prep work you had to do. Can you tell us how much prep work you had to do throughout the course of the week, and can you be a little specific about what that prep work was?
Yeah, sure. I mean, a lot of people prep at home, or not. I like to prep in the office. Like if I'm at home, I'm just like, you know, just kind of fucking around. Hey, maybe there's a TV. You know, it's like, so I always got there as early as possible. So I'll do like stage 3 and 4, which is my schedule was Friday and Saturday. I'd always come in on Wednesday and Thursday, because those are broadcast days anyway. So you know, there's games on, but I'd come in as early as possible. Usually around like noon or so if broadcast went live at 4. Excuse me. And then I would just, I think it became like a little bit of a contest to see who got there first, me or Monty. So Monty would come in and be like, "How are you here already? It's 11:30." And I'd be like, but you know, a lot of guys prep at home anyway, so it doesn't even matter. And then like I'd go and I'd look at, you know, so I have a sheet, essentially this format that I used to like would run in Google Docs. So it would like say I'm doing Philly versus Boston, it'd be Philly v Boston. Then I'd have all the maps that they're going to play that week, and then the records on the maps, the record and the stage on the maps, etc. And then I would have each map listed individually. So it'd be like, you know, Kings Row, Lijiang, whatever, and all 4 maps listed. And then under those maps, it'd be Philly offense, and then you know, Philly defense, Boston offense, Boston defense. And then I'd just start filling it all in. I'd rewatch the VODs of most recent matches, because I feel like you start going back 4 or 5 games. If you didn't remember it, who really cares anyway? And then doing top downs as well, so I could notice compositions, what angles they like to take, what style they like to go. And like, I would probably over prep, because if I don't use it, fine. But you know, if I need something, then I have it and it's there. So I would do like a couple hours of that. The top downs were great for that, just because I could see what compositions. Oh, this guy likes the flank. This is his favorite Widow spot. Just like just going through it again and again and again. And then sometimes if we'd find a really cool play, and I would try to, but not force it. Like I'd pull out some top downs to send to production and be like, can we put this on air? Can I go through it on air and just kind of explain what this style is, what this top-down is? And Monty did it a lot of times as well. In fact, Monty did it first, and I stole it from him. Shameless, I don't care. It was a good idea, right? It doesn't matter. The product is what matters at the end. So if it's a good idea, I'm going to do it. And so yeah, I do that Wednesday for probably 2 to 3 hours. I'll take breaks and grab something to eat, play a little Hearthstone and whatnot. Then the games go live at 4, and so especially if there were teams I was going to cast later that week, I would sit and take notes and watch the games in my pad. So sometimes I'd be upstairs in the lounge. More often than not, I spent a lot of times upstairs in the lounge because no one else was ever there. So it's just like quiet and I can do whatever. So like me and Summer just hung out there a lot. A lot of the other casters would watch the games in the green room, and that's always valuable too, because you're with a lot of other casters, so you can start bouncing ideas back off of each other and stuff, and see like, what did you see there? Is that what happened? And then on occasion, if it was a hype ass game, I'd just go sit in the stands. So that was my Wednesday and Thursday. Then Friday, much the same. I would come in early, but I don't have as much time, so you have to start getting ready at like 2:30 or 3, hair and makeup and all that stuff. But I would do any last minute prep from the night before that maybe I didn't watch the last game at the arena, maybe I was driving home. Make sure that I have all the stuff that I have from the previous 2 days and how it goes forward, and actually really try to bring in the previous 2 days matches if at all applicable, of like, the other day against Boston, because it's recent and perhaps the same viewers just watched that one. So I have very much of a recency bias. And then we also have production meetings on days that I cast too. We have them every day, but days I cast, I have to go to them. So production meeting is with the observers, or head observer Jason's always there. Ben is there, and then one of our producers. So we would talk to Ben, like, I'd pulled out stats that I wanted to look at, and then I'd be like, Ben, is there any way that you can expound on this? And he's great at his job, by the way. Captain Planet crushed it. So we would talk about stats and maybe graphic packages to put up. And then I talked to Jason about like, well, this team often runs this strategy, so can you put the camera here? And then he'd be like, well, I like to do it this way. Then we would just talk about like, well, how the broadcast is going to look. And then we would talk to production, like, what do we have here? He's like, well, you guys have to pitch T-Mobile MVP. And I'm like, nope, talk to Semler. That's his job.
They didn't get you to do the sellouts? I mean, come on.
No. Sour Patch Kids candy.
He just pulls out a bag.
And then and so that was production meeting, and then we go and then we cast, and then cast days are like my cast days were always kind of brutal because I did 1 and 3, so there was never a day where I only did one set. But I'd do my first cast, grab my catering, go upstairs, and just like maybe if I last second prep about the next match that's coming, but usually not. Usually I'm pretty set at that point after all day Wednesday, all day Thursday, then Friday morning. Usually pretty set with prep at that point. Eat, decompress, play some Hearthstone. Try not to play try not to hate that game and uninstall.
And I didn't do that and play it at the same time. Please teach me your ways, guys.
Yes, sir. I do understand that grind. And then go cast the third game, and then we would do player of the day, which if you cast the third set of the day, you always do player of the day. So that's another 20 minutes after the show. And then get home, and then Friday night you get home at like 11:30 midnight, and then you have an early call time Saturday. So that's why I had to make sure all my prep was done in stage 3 and 4, because I don't have time Saturday morning to get up and go do it, and like I need that sleep because you don't want to come in exhausted. And then Saturday was very much the same as Friday, just a couple hours back. So my prep was largely done on non-show days, but that's why I always went in on Wednesday and Thursday, even when I wasn't casting those days, because like that's my day, and then I focus on the game, and then create notes, and then so I have like all these Google documents of just dates of like the whatever date it is, and then Philly, Boston, New York, London, so it's just all these notes and notes and notes, and you would think that I would go back and use the previous notes to fill out the next thing's notes, but I never really did. I would always just kind of start fresh.
It's like the opposite of me.
Maybe that's not the smartest way to work, but it was always fresher in my mind if I would just like go back and watch it. Maybe I'd see something new the next time when I went through the top downs. So so just
finding a way to turn a sour moment into something strange, if you will.
Got there.
I was wondering as well if you could tell us, maybe, is there one match that really sticks out in your mind, Hex, as your favorite one that you got to work on, where you and Semler were either clicking, or maybe the match was just super hype for whatever reason? What's your favorite match of the season you cast?
Yeah, I get this question a lot. I don't really remember a specific match that was our favorite. I guess, just like the further you go on, I think stage 3 playoffs, I really liked those. I think it was Boston, New York. And then stage 4 playoffs, I think it was New York and Dallas. I think those were both pretty good for us. But I think, you know, as been mentioned in numerous Reddit threads, I think that we were just getting better and better. I think we were like starting to really peak towards the end of stage 4 and stage 4 playoffs. So I think just the further and more recent you go on, I think those are better. We just became better friends, you know, throughout the season, and then it just shows, and we're just having a good time, and just everything just gets better. So I guess I don't know. Stage 4 playoffs, I think it's probably my most recent match was my most favorite. I guess I don't know.
You said already you have a pretty strong recency bias, so I think we
whatever the last one I did.
Pretty much. The NYXL homecoming event was the.
Now, what about maybe just the funniest off-air moment, something that nobody would know about because the cameras weren't on, that you'll always remember from season 1, or at least remember for a while?
You know, I don't know, nothing in particular stands out. This is the funniest group of human beings I've been around in quite a while. And so like anything that, like, there's nothing that stands out like enormously. Brennan Sideshow are lunatics. Johnny looks on, you know, concerned. Monty cracks me up. Here's for a couple things, and there's nothing really specific about this. One, Matt Mr. X is the funniest human being I've ever met in my entire life. And it's because he just could not care less if you think he's funny or not.
Like, I know exactly the type of person that you're describing.
His apathy is the funniest thing I've ever seen, and just the way he delivers lines and the way he's just savage with people. He makes me laugh harder than anybody, and I don't even know if he's doing it on purpose. But there's also, so what always also makes me laugh is, I have a desk that faces like the TV, it's on the end, and Monty's right across from me. Right. And so like during pregame and stuff, if he's not casting the first set and I'm up there as well, and we're just both doing prep or whatever, there's like this one mix of like, you know, break music that comes on. And then partway through the break music, there's like this whispering line that goes, DJ in the mix.
Yes. Yeah.
Every time that would come on, Monty would whisper it at the exact same time, in the exact same tone. And it never failed to make me laugh, because he's just right across from me, and all of a sudden, and he just goes back to doing whatever he's doing as though nothing had happened.
Oh, that's great.
There, lose my mind. So that always made me laugh too. But the entire group that we have, they've all got their moments where I'm just floored with laughter, and just I don't know, just a giggle fest pretty constantly.
That's amazing. I really wish that there was footage of Monty doing that.
He might be mad at me for even showing that. It seems very out of character.
Leaks. I knew we'd get some. Speaking. This isn't a segue into that, but we've heard a rumor that during the filming of your Toyota commercial, when you're adjusting the rearview mirror multiple times, there's a rumor that you didn't know that it was filming, and you were actually just thinking you were going to lunch. Can you confirm or deny this?
Well, I confirm. I'm a lunatic in every aspect of my life. You know, I can't keep Zoe safe in the car, right? I gotta be. I actually hate driving. I'm getting used to it again now, because when I moved to Chicago, I sold my car, so I hadn't driven really like consistently for like 5 years, and then I had to buy a car and move to LA. And yeah, man, like people are nuts. The good thing that I will say about LA drivers is that everybody's nuts, so it's predictable, right? So it's like you kind of know how everyone drives the same way, at least, so you kind of know what to
It's just
expect.
very wrong and crazy.
Yeah, you know what's up. But luckily I don't have to drive too much. I live like 3 miles away from the studio, and even some days, like if Lyft is having like a promo, I'm like, you know what, just here's $4, take me to work. You know, like, I'd rather just not deal with it. But yeah, I'm probably too cautious of a driver at times, but you know, I kind of enjoy life, and I enjoy living that life. So yeah, I will adjust my mirrors, and I am as serious as safety.
That is fair. So that commercial, what was it like filming that? I know I've never been in a commercial. I don't know if Deathblow has been. I'm imagining a lot of the people listening probably haven't been in a commercial, at least not like that. What was that like?
So it's like a completely different crew, just an outside commercial filming company comes in, and so we just showed up. Like, it was actually weird, because like I think a couple people were like scheduled to be in it, and then like we just got this kind of blast email of like, hey, Toyota's looking for some more people. Anyone want to do some stuff? I'm like, hey, I'm free. My dad was flying in like later that day, but I'm like, he'd think it was cool if I just went down and did some Toyota stuff. So, and it's like, the way it's shot is so strange because they'll shoot the same thing 10 different times because they need all the different angles, right? So it's like, now Hex, blinkers on, blinkers off. Mess with the mirror, do the stereo. Mess with the mirror, do the stereo. Blinkers on, blinkers off. Okay, great. Reset, and then do it all again from another angle, and another angle, and another angle. The only thing that sucked is like for that one shot for the commercial with Zoe especially, the doors had to be shut. And, you know, as a northerner myself, from the northern Midwest my whole life, being in a hot car with the door shut was not super fun. So anyway, they shoot like the same thing 10 different times. And like when I read the script, I knew immediately, I'm like, this could be really good if it's edited right. The editing is going to make it like funny or it's going to make it terrible. Because like they could have made a terrible commercial out of the performances that I gave them. So thankful for the editors to put that together. But actually, like having read it, I'm like, okay, yeah, these could be really good if it's just cut together right. And so they did a lot of shots, and you know, it's kind of an arduous process, but it's so easy. Don't let actors tell you it's hard. It's like, do this, do that, and I'm like, 5 seconds later, do you want some water? Are you okay? Oh, Hex, do you need a break? Is it too hot in the car? Like, it's just ridiculous. I'm like, no, let's go again. It's fine. Thanks, guys. And then they do that weird thing. Oh God, it was so awkward. Like, I get awkward when people are like the talent, right? That already makes me feel awkward. But then like when you end a shoot, right? They call it like you're wrapped, and like so like. I was wrapped. Uber still had to go move and do another different thing because we shot the Uber one after the Zoe one. And there it goes. And that's a wrap on Hex, everyone. And I'm like, oh, fuck. Thanks, guys.
That's awesome.
It's like worse than having your birthday at Chi-Chi's. Like, way worse.
That's amazing. And I also love that you're just throwing every commercial actor just right under the bus. It's just not. Dude, it's just not that. It's not that hard. Love it. Oh, that's awesome. Moving on, I want to talk a little bit about the playoffs because obviously this is the first playoffs we've done. We had kind of the stage playoffs to kind of get a preview for what playoffs might be like, but the actual playoffs were something different. Was it added pressure or even work for you guys as casters?
Okay, so you're talking about like, yeah, the actual playoffs.
The first playoffs.
The first playoffs.
Hashtag the first playoffs.
You know, it's actually one of the only times I'd been nervous, like 10 seconds of getting nervous. Because one, Sumler's just like the calmest guy ever, so you can't ever be nervous around him. He's like, it's fine, dude, don't worry. All right, so like, but because we were going to be on like Disney and it was going to be simulcast and stuff, we had a production meeting like the day before where it was like everyone's like, guys, it's going to be to a wider audience, so whatever you can do stylistically to make it easier for the wider audience, that would, we really appreciate that. You know, don't change anything about what you do, but change what you do, like kind of a weird thing like that.
Yep.
So like, I mean, that wasn't a big deal. I think I kind of throughout the season in like really small ways, and it's one thing I always tell, like when I do VOD review and stuff, I'm like, it doesn't take long to just like explain what you said. It takes like a sentence, right? So like, you know, you talk about EMP, no use of abilities on the other side now, like that's a throwaway sentence, but it explains what that is, right? So I've been doing that all season, so that wasn't that big of a deal. But that, coupled with the fact that it was the playoffs and the fact that I had not cast in 3 weeks before that, it was a little you know, it was a little nerve-wracking. So we were just on break, and then we're coming back for playoffs, and like now you're just thrown right into the fire. And usually, and you can tell even through my broadcast, my first map of the first game of the day is usually pretty bad. It takes me a second to warm up. Like it's not like demonstrably bad, but I never really look at those first maps of like, you crushed it, right? I'm like, okay, all right, let's go. And it takes a second sometimes, and it's just, that's natural, that it takes almost everyone a second to warm up and get their feet under them, get in the groove of the game, especially a game like this, which is just like, oh yeah, I have to think 10 times faster than I normally do. So those were like 3 things that made me just like nervous for like 10 seconds, but you know, once you get in the game, you're in game, right? So it doesn't matter. But that was why the playoffs were a little different, I think, because we were trying to reach a broader audience. So I was kind of going out of my way to make things a little bit easier, not go super deep on analysis, but still when like analysis was required, go in there and make those decisions. But also I was just rusty. It'd been 3 weeks since I cast, and then, you know, your first day back, you know, do something different. And also it's the playoffs, and also you haven't casted in 3 weeks. So that's how the playoffs were for me. But you know, once you get it out of the way, it's all good. It's like riding a bike. That
makes a lot of sense. Now, obviously, you have more of an insight into the behind the scenes with the players. Were the players racked with this sort of responsibility of the playoffs as much as the casters, or were they just cool as a cucumber?
I had met with all they were So a couple of us decided, because they were coming up like through our green room or through our caster lounge to do a photo shoot. They were getting ready up there. So we decided a couple of us went up there. I think it was me, Malik, and Puckett. And we're just like, while the teams were waiting, we're just kind of peppering them with questions, seeing how they felt. And I didn't feel like there was a lot of nerves through like almost any one of the playoffs teams. Philly in particular was like, we don't feel any pressure at all. So I think for them, it's like another day at the office. And I think, you know, a lot of them were like, you know, we really want to win, but if we don't, God, at least the season's up. Like, there was kind of that like lasting fatigue of like, man, I would love to win and I'm going to try really hard, but you know, if we don't, I'm going to go home. You know, so it didn't seem like anyone was really racked with pressure. And like famously, London before their game where they reverse swept to get to the finals, were like, guys, it's probably our last one. Go out there and have fun, right? And I guess, you know, that kind of attitude worked out for them.
Yeah. Interesting. That is interesting, but I can definitely attest to being in a situation like that. Like when I played high school basketball, it's like, man, this could be my last game ever. But also, I've been playing nonstop since I was in 5th grade, so maybe maybe not the actual worst thing if this is the last one. So here's a question for you, Hex. Who do we have to bribe / threaten? I mean, not threaten, just ask very sternly to get you on the Watchpoint show.
You know, probably me, to be honest. I think, you know, I probably, like I said, I probably could have pushed harder for some of that stuff and like pitched them some ideas of segments I wanted to do. And like, I always kind of just like half-hearted was like, hey, I'd like to do this sometime, but never really followed up on it. And everyone else is too busy to be like, hey, well, let's really develop that. It's like, it's kind of on me to really push for stuff. So hopefully we have some more resources in the next season. And like, you know, I would love to do a call-in show. That's like my biggest thing is to do a call-in show because I like being off the cuff and reacting to people and dealing with questions and stuff. So that was an idea that I pitched. I'm going to try to pursue that as much, but we're looking for a lot of new ideas to go through, but maybe not Watchpoint because I feel like they have such an established thing right there, like the brand and the chemistry and everything's like so perfect there that I don't know if I'd want to come in and like be like Watchpoint and now, hey, you know, it just seems like.
I mean, Brand did it.
Yeah, I know. Bram does a lot of stuff. Well,
okay.
Why mess with something good? I don't know. Maybe my own thing. Maybe a second version of Watchpoint. I don't know. Like we're kicking around ideas, and there's a lot of stuff I'd want to do. But I think I could have pushed a little harder to be a part of those things. But you know, I didn't. And there's hopefully stuff coming up. But I have a lot of stuff that I want to do, and it's just a matter of getting the resources and developing it. And like, as great as Overwatch League was, I felt like we pull a lot of that stuff off with you know, duct tape and band-aids. So you know,
you certainly can't tell from the honestly from the viewer side. Like I never thought that like this just seemed really kind of
and it has nothing to do with like us. Worked so hard, constantly doing stuff like pulling crazy hours to make everything perfect. So the fact that it does not come across, and I know it doesn't, is a testament to just the hours of unseen work that people don't necessarily appreciate.
Yeah. So here's the idea. It's called Hex Texts, where people text in live and you answer their questions like that, so that they don't have to. You don't have to worry about people calling in and saying awful things.
It would be like it'd be pre-recorded and edited.
Nope, it's got to be live. Live Hex Texts. Hex Text.
I thought you wanted to be off the cuff, Hex.
Yeah, I know, off the cuff, but like not live aired. So they would call in and we record a show.
Sounds pretty fake to me.
Scripted.
Yeah. Paid casters. Paid callers. Oh, so good. Okay. I know a lot of times, at least on the broadcast, and I don't know if this is fabricated or played out or not, but sometimes when you guys say stuff on or make predictions, the teams get upset. Like either they're waiting to come on and they give you bad looks, or is there any? Have you ever actually gotten like any pushback from the players or teams from something you said on a cast?
No, not really. One, generally the players walk through the casting room before they come through the main stage, so I try to keep pretty quiet there. You know, we'll talk to them, be like, you know, like some of the players that I've known for a while, like, how you feeling today? You know, what do you guys think? How's it gonna go? And I try not to really make that many predictions as a caster. That's not my job. The analysts make predictions. Although famously, I was the only one to pick Philly to beat Boston, but you know, I don't know why I didn't even bring that up. But yeah, I mean, I think. going for back, like some of the players that I've known for a long time know that like they have a direct line to me. If I ever beef something on air, which is possible, or if I misexplain something or I'm wrong, I have no problem being corrected. I would love to learn what I did wrong, what I did right from their perspective. So it hasn't happened in Owl yet, but like in other casts and stuff, I've had players message me and be like, oh, you know, just so you know, you called this Transcendence, you know, questionable, but the reason is because this, and this. Thank you. That's awesome. I appreciate that. What I don't appreciate is when like players or, you know, anyone goes and like, oh, geez, the casters have just been so wrong all year. One, that's not an example. Two, you're throwing me under the bus. My job essentially is to make you look as good as possible, right? I want you to do well. I want your team to look good. I want you to look good. And rarely do I really call out negative stuff unless it's like, I have to say this, otherwise I look like an ass for not mentioning it, right? But I think if you don't do that very often, then it lends itself to credibility, and you're not just trashing people just to trash people, right? So, so far, no players have really come up to me. Like, I hope if I get something wrong that they will privately message me and we can correct it. I have no problem with being wrong, obviously. But yeah, it hasn't really happened so far. But you know, Reddit would tell you I miss everything that happens, but.
Well, I wouldn't know. I don't believe in Reddit. But I did want to point out there's one other prediction you're famous for, at least in my book, Hexagrams, and that was your dark horse team selection going into the season. Do you remember who that was?
I do not.
It was the Shanghai Dragons, and I will never forget that.
Also, what is the over? Also, what is the?
But that was the recency bias, and you know how I would have looked had that worked out.
That's true.
I had just finished. I was brainwashed at that point. I had just finished 6 weeks, 4 nights a week, 1 a.m. to 8 a.m. of Chinese Overwatch. All right.
Like, I don't even know if other people play this anymore.
Yeah, I was, you know, but I wasn't wrong about Dia. Dia was a good player. So
that's true.
There's that at least. But that, God, how brilliant would I have looked if they were like coming out like, oh man. All right.
Well, we got everybody's the raw numbers for everybody's preseason power rankings and everything like that. You wouldn't, if they'd have finished in first place and won the whole league, you would not have been the most accurate. Like there was somebody higher than you on the Shanghai Dragons.
But they were
I didn't have them that high. I just said that they.
No. You didn't have them that high. No, somebody
I had them like I had them like 6, 7, or 8.
There's a non-zero number of people that had them above NYXL, I believe, if I recall correctly.
Oh, okay. Well,
yeah.
Those people are
I think the highest
Yikes.
somebody had them was 6.
I think I had Shock way too low. I'm super excited for Shock for next season.
Yeah, they're definitely much improved. But speaking of next season, let's talk about what happens between this time and the beginning of next season. We want to ask you a couple questions about the postseason here. Sure. Curious what, from a personal standpoint, you've mentioned all this free time you're having in your VOD reviews a little bit. Anything you're doing not Overwatch related during your downtime?
No. Yeah, I mean, as you're looking at it, I'm taking this time to like just try to just reorganize my life, like the schedule's a little bit weird, and then it's a gamer schedule too, so you're up too late, you're doing so now I'm just like I have a really regimented life right now, at least since the beginning of August. Like I get up at the same time every day. I do the same thing for the first couple hours of the morning every day. I eat breakfast at the same time. I work out at the same time. And like, then I get to like this time of the day. This is usually when I'm really exhausted because it's like 8. I wake up at 8 and now it's 5 and I try to fight through this. And then I try to figure out the rest of my night, like what I'm going to watch, if I'm going to stream, if I'm going to play. But for the most part, I just do the same thing every day and try to get through, and just, get healthy, work out, try to stay normal mentally, read a little bit. Went to a bookstore today, got some more books, although the books I read are probably not good for my mentality. And then, just watch film, watch TV, talk to some of the other talent and stuff. Like today, we're just trying to figure out if we're going to practice for stuff. And then, play a little Overwatch. I was trying to stay away from it as much as possible, but I don't know. There's no point of just like intentionally staying away from something you like. So. And not doing a whole lot. I'm looking for other games to play, but every time I play another game, I just want to play Overwatch instead. So trying to find something else to do with my time. But yeah, it's the same stuff I've always liked to do, like just film, TV, books. I bought a new guitar, like a cheap learner guitar, for like $90, and I'm going to try to play Rocksmith. played guitar when I was like 13, but it's been a long time since I picked one up, so I'm going to try to learn that. But yeah, other than that, just my same old nerdy TV, film, writing, reading kind of stuff whenever I have some free time. And then I've been trying to stream a little more. When I don't feel like doing any of those other things, I stream. And streaming actually makes me a more positive player and just focus on my own play. I don't really care if I'm ranking up or not, but it's always fun to hang out with viewers and just kind of chill and talk to them. So yeah, that's really all I've been doing. It's only been 2 weeks, but luckily I've actually been doing the exact same thing for 2 weeks, and it's helped me a lot. Just mentally reboot, right? Just in bed by 11, up at 8. In bed by 11, up at 8, and I haven't had that for a long time. So it's actually really nice. It's super relaxing when you plan out every moment of your day. And I know that sounds like it doesn't make sense, but trust me, it does.
Well, there's the next question I have for you here. It was sent in to us by a salty NYXL fan.
I don't know what you're talking about.
And
not salty at all.
The question here is how can and even should Overwatch League do anything to mitigate the new patch effect? He wasn't a big fan of Jonak on Roadhog, I don't think. So he's wondering if maybe they can just ban patching the game during the season or something.
There's a couple schools of thought on this. You know, a lot of people would say, well, Overwatch is adaptive strategies, adapting your tactics, and that's the Wild West kind of theory of like, hey, new patch, whatever, deal with it. And you know, part of me kind of agrees with that. You're a good player, you should be able to play everything. Part of me doesn't like that so much. I don't think that we should ever go through a season where nothing gets patched. I would get bored as hell. It's a long season. I would like to see things change. I get bored of metas very, very quickly. So I'm kind of in Sideshow's boat on this. I think he spoke a little bit about patching and like what that's about. I think he had an article about it or something, or a tweet. I don't recall. I generally just speak with Josh about this stuff. But I would patch. I would one run patch. If there's a minor tweak and stuff is just broken, like the game is unplayable, there's a glitch, something messes up, then you have to patch during season, and then I would patch it halfway through the season. I would also put maybe some sort of different event in the middle of the season too. I'd have longer breaks between stages, kind of stretch it out a little bit, but I'd play stage 1 and stage 2 on the same patch. I would schedule a major patch, maybe even a hero release with a 3 to 4 week, or probably like at least a 2 week break between stage 2 and stage 3. And that's your major patch. Maybe there's a new hero, maybe it's just major overhaul changes, and then you play the rest of the season on that patch. So I would only patch really once in a season, and I think like if you're gonna patch, that has to be like stage dependent. But I would only patch at halftime of the year, and I would make sure that it's a major patch. And I would like, in an ideal world, and this will never happen, I would like for that just be the actual state of the game. I wish that when you're watching Overwatch League, that the exact same version of that game that you're watching is available on your PC to go play, because I think that's one of the great things about esports is that you watch someone do it and you can go try it yourself. I can't watch someone dunk a basketball and go try it myself. That would be a hilarious video that will never happen. But yeah, I think that those would be my ideal worlds. There's a trillion reasons why those can't and probably won't happen, but I would patch once, major patch halfway through the season, and then ride out the rest.
Yeah, for my money, I was a pretty big fan of how it was done, but I think I would have freezed the patch going into the playoffs. Like I would have ideally liked to have seen stage 4 and the playoffs be on the same patch. I think it would have been led to the most mature meta game and maybe slightly higher quality matches. But after watching the playoffs, there were some really high quality matches there as well. So
I mean,
what do I know?
Look, the meta right now is it's pretty great. In my opinion, so some of the stuff that we've seen in the last couple stages and then the playoffs, it's like, oh, what, you mean every hero's viable? Yeah, cool, let's play.
Right. Except for May, and that's perfect. Okay.
You can play. You saw some May.
Yeah, but there was a little bit. It was basically the Kai comp ran rampant through a couple teams. But nonetheless, here I lost my spot a little bit. Okay, yeah. So how much work is there still to do for the talent during the break? I mean, you say you're pretty wide open, but are you guys doing anything, or are you guys completely off right now?
Well, I mean, technically we're completely off right now. Allstars is coming up, and hopefully I'm not even casting. Hopefully I'll just get to play in that. And then there might be some World Cup stuff. I think a lot of things are still being worked out with that. So we might see some of us there. We might not. I don't know. Then hopefully we all get to do BlizzCon. I know everyone wants to do BlizzCon. It doesn't matter what you are. Or what the event is. It's goddamn BlizzCon. It's a goddamn Catalina wine mixer. So everyone wants to do that, and then hopefully there's some stuff with like the teams, like similar to what I did with NYXL. You know, each team can has licenses to run tournaments, to do events, and hopefully they need some talent for that and would like to bring us out for stuff like that. So that's kind of just freelancing at the moment, and then a lot of us has just like started streaming and working on some other stuff, Overwatch related and just stuff like that. But generally, as far as the Overwatch League is concerned, we don't really have any commitments beyond the All-Star game. I think.
Perfect.
I'd have to look at my contract, but I think that's the case. I hope so.
You might know the answer to this one and not be able to tell us, but probably not, since you approved the questions ahead of time. But do you think the addition of any expansion teams will alter the number of matches that are played in a week next season? And if so, will that lead to more casters and desk talent being added, or are they just going to keep stretching you guys?
Yeah, I just a caveat. I don't know any of this. So everything further would be speculation. I honestly don't know. I stay away from decisions. Well, I mean, every decision as much as possible. So
you're the talent. You don't
with expansion teams coming, will the number of matches get played in a week? Well, either the matches will increase, or we will just do less matches overall for the season. I think those would probably be the only two viable options. I don't know. There's someone, I'm sure, with a spreadsheet trying to figure out scheduling to do all those things, but I don't know. I honestly don't know. And I said in my AMA the other day, and this is the same stock answer I'll give, is like, with more teams, and the assumption is with more teams there will be more games, and if those assumptions hold true, then the third assumption would be then we need more talent. So I would assume there would be more talent if there are more games. If there are more expansion teams, then I would assume there's more talent. There's a lot of talented people out there. We'd be lucky to have several of them, but I don't know. I honestly don't know. My assumptions are as good as your assumptions, so maybe. I don't know. I seriously don't know. I'm not.
I think as long as you're not slamming the door on the reunion of the Hexagrams and ZP combo, I think the fans will be okay with that answer no matter what.
You know, I don't know. It's I've got a new boyfriend now, I guess, so I'm married to Summer at this point.
Married with Semler. That's another segment you can do, as well as Hex Techs.
Hey, man, talk about outkicking your coverage. That is a handsome man right there.
It's hard to deny.
I saw the other day an old CSGO like show that he did, and I didn't even recognize him because he's apparently lost a bunch of weight and didn't have a beard and had this like gigantic like pink, like bright pink scarf, and I'm like, this sounds a lot like Semler, but I don't. Oh, that is Semler. It was pretty great.
Yeah. The pink scarf probably still stays.
Yeah.
Now he's got a beard, and he's super into rock climbing, so he's obviously in shape now.
Yeah, he dropped, I would estimate, a good 20 pounds. So, but speaking of Semler and the other casters, we do have the All-Star Game talent takedown rosters announced. On your team, you've got Puckett, Monte Cristo, Semler, Zoe, Crumbs, and former pro player Reinforce versus the rest of the talent. Which I don't believe any of them have been pro players, but notably your team doesn't have Brenji, which has got to be a good thing. Is there any chance that you guys lose this?
Yeah, it's like Team Honest SR versus Team got boosted by other players. I think this one is like, it's 100% mental, really. I think whichever team stays like the calmest and doesn't tilt, like that's all on me. I'm a tilt baby, and like just plays like smart is gonna have the better chance. I think Johnny doesn't really want to play main tank, which is fine because his DPS is really good. I think our hero pool is a lot better and deeper, and I think if we can just set Josh and Bren against each other, and then if they start bitching, like Matt will just unplug his microphone and check out, and then that'll make Mitch check out, and then Golden Boy and Malik both play on Xbox controllers, so not worried. Yeah, I mean, like there's so much trash talk already in like the WhatsApp group, like, our team is so stacked, and I'm looking at it, I'm like, oh no, I'm just not worried.
Wait, they think their team is stacked?
They really do. They really do.
Did they know sideshows on it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So here's the thing: is like me and Bren played the other night. Played like Genji and Widow, and like we went like 6-1, and with the one we lost was like really close. Like that was the last game we played, And he's like, yeah, man, we played really well. I'm like, yeah, that's because I don't play an idiot Zenyatta. I play it back, and I shoot people. And I
flanking Zenyatta is one of the most innovative things I've ever seen on a stream.
So I don't know. It should be a good time, and I think there's going to be some friendly trash talk leading up to it, as there should be, and it should be a good time for hopefully the fans enjoy it. Yeah, so I think the All-Star game overall, like not just the talent takedown, but like everything else. I mean, you talk about listening to a community, they gave you everything you wanted, absolutely everything you wanted. And you know what the main topic was in the All-Star thread on Reddit? Why are the skins so much? Oh.
They're
There's
always
everything you wanted. Literally your whole list checked out. Why do the skins cost so much? Oh, get out of here.
Classic Reddit. I'm really glad to hear that there's going to be trash talk, because that was my main thing of like, I don't want this to be like a super serious, we're just going to watch more high level Overwatch. I want the wackiness, I want the trash talk, I want this to feel more WWE than MLB.
Yeah. It should be a good time. Like, my big question is like, who's going to host the show? Like, I honestly don't know how it all works. We have a time like next week, so I guess I'll figure it out then. But
let them know two podcast hosts. That would be
it should be a really good time. I'm really looking forward to All-Star weekend, and hopefully no one takes anything too seriously and everyone just has fun, because like All-Star game should be fun. All right, so that's what I'm looking forward to. I'm hoping that there's an MVP for this talent takedown, and I'm gonna I got a spot for that trophy already picked out right there. So I'm ready. Let's go.
Awesome. Well, we've got just a couple more questions here. We've got some Discord questions, and if people in the chat want to throw some questions out there, we will get to those as well. But we'll start with the Discord questions. This one was from Dr. Witz. You kind of went over this a little bit, so you don't need to rehash, but maybe if there's something else to add. He said, when you first started casting, what kind of media did you have? Did you access to practice your casting with? Did you go over VODs and practice that way to find that your live content was better? Did you find that getting feedback from other people was useful early on as well?
This one's difficult because when I first started casting, there wasn't any VODs to go over. I was making those VODs. Like, there were very few other tournaments going on. I think Mitch and Jason did a couple, like Atlantic Showdown. The very first one was, I think, called like sombrero.gg.
Yes.
Yeah. So there was very few things to really go over and cast. So a lot of times after we would cast, I would go back and mute it and try to recast, try to relook at it, and just go over it again. And then when there was stuff that I hadn't cast, I would just, I'd maybe practice those solo, or I'd just watch them very intently, try to get through that way. ZP and I, whenever we'd finish our 12-hour day, we'd still stay on the call for like another hour, dissecting, post-mortem, what did we do well, what needs to happen here, I didn't like this throw, when this happens, I need that, just really having a conversation about like what was good, what was bad, let's work harder. And then like if there'd been a while where we hadn't cast, we would start doing a couple practice casts. I think like last year before Santa Monica stopped, because we hadn't cast together in a bit, we'd just been doing other stuff, right? So he's like, let's get together, let's practice cast, let's get back in sync, right? And so like I've always respected that about ZP, and like most people in the industry too, because you think like, oh, these guys are doing a World Cup stop, right? Yeah, we're still practicing, like I'm not gonna get outworked in this. Like I'm gonna practice. I want to be good. It's not gonna be good if I don't practice, right? So we'd go over VODs and stuff to try to get our feet under us. And maybe if there was another tournament like Beat or Beyond the Summit, I think was happening at the time, so we would just mute that and we'd cast over it. When we first did Carbon series and living together, we would just, whatever was on, we'd mute that and we would cast it. Let's keep practicing. Like, we just casted 4 days in a row, and like, let's keep practicing. And then 2 days from now, we have a monthly melee. Let's keep practicing. Like, that's what it really takes. And that's what I would do early on. That's what I'd recommend for anyone to do now. You can always go volunteer for sites that are looking for casters. Broadcast GG, famously, always looking for talent, always looking for people to try to get their feet wet. If you don't want to do that, just practice cast with, hopefully a buddy, because that's kind of how all casting is. There's not a whole lot of solo casters out there right now. But just cast as much as possible, record it, listen to yourself, look back at it. I mean, there's a great fear oftentimes of like recording yourself casting. It's like, you're not sending it anywhere. You can just delete it again if you're done, like it's going
to be on live stream fails, man.
Yeah. I had to get over that too when I was like doing a show that I'd record. I'm like, oh god, I'm kind of nervous. I'm like, well, you can just delete it. So it was, so like it's just it's a stupid mental hurdle to get over. But I would just do as much as possible in whatever mediums that you can find. But I like a lot of times I just mute VODs and cast over them. That's how I started practicing when there was VODs for me to practice. And yeah, getting feedback. I don't think you want to get feedback too early. I think you want to, you want to get your own style going. You want to figure out what you like, what's good for you, what you think you need to work on. You don't want to like cast once and be like, give me feedback, because then it's just gonna be like, I'm just gonna mold you into what I would do, and that's no one wants that, right? So, yeah, I mean, get feedback once you think you need it, but I would, you need to put a lot of work out there first.
Makes sense. And just for reference, for anyone who doesn't believe how much those guys, you and ZP, were working in those early ones, you guys were also doing the observing of those matches while you were casting as well.
Yeah, ZP was. When I did
you did a little bit too.
Yeah, a few. I actually really liked solo casting a little bit too. So I always look back at the Lenovo as like one of the turning points in my casting where I started to really get it. Yeah, that was a great one. But yeah, we were doing
used to do a lot of tournament adminning too. I know Kai said you were one of the best in the history.
Essentially, one of the monthly melee were we had Alex, who was our like sponsor, our liaison with Alienware, and Curse, who used to run it, and then it was just me and ZP as a two-man show for the monthly melees. Like, get him into lobby, run the camera, run production, run everything. So. Yeah, we did a lot with a little.
Yeah, the good old days, as I refer to them longingly as. Next question here was from the Monkey Prince, and he says, with Jake being announced to cast the World Cup qualifier with ZP, what do you think about pro players becoming pro casters and analysts, both in general and the case of Jake specifically?
Yeah, I'd hope they wait a couple years, because as a color caster, that's kind of a role that a lot of former pros like to step into. I mentioned this a little bit in my AMA. I think that the knowledge in the world does not matter if you cannot present it properly. So if we can find people who can be entertaining and can present information correctly, that's where the key is, because a lot of the audience, and then the fact that the audience is broadening as well. We don't need deep dive. That is not like what we're lacking here. We need information presented clearly so people can understand this. And even when we're speaking in broad strokes and when we are dumbing it down, so to speak, for these broader audiences, it's still a confusing game for people to watch and tune into. So I think it's 95% about presentation and 5% analysis. That's not to say that pro players don't have a spot here and a place here. And I'd be interesting to see what Jake does, as everyone has said, like, he's articulate, he's smart, and he is smart, he is articulate. So we'll see how that goes there. And then I think probably in a couple years, you'll see more players try to move into that kind of role. And there's been some players that we are specifically think about, like, hey, when they're done, they'd be really good. But that'd be great talent to have. So I think Jake, I spoke with Jake in New York, and I think he's a bright kid, and I wish him nothing but the best. And ZP is going to be pushing him to practice, and I know in fact they are practicing a lot together. So I think he's setting himself up for success. But pro players becoming analysts, it could go one of two ways. Like Chris Collinsworth, a former pro, I think he's good at his job. He makes some bad calls, but everyone does, right? And then on the other swing, you've got like an Emmett Smith, who I don't know if he's ever spoken a full sentence. So like, it's all about presentation. I don't care. He's a cowboy. F Dallas, right? So, so it's all about for me. It's all about presentation. You can have the greatest analysis in the world, but if you can't present it well, I don't care.
Fair. Yeah, they many years ago, the Magic the Gathering Pro Tour cast used to just be whoever just lost the previous round. They would bring that guy up onto the cast, and they would A, go too deep into the weeds, and B, would just dog out the other players every time something. Oh, well, that play was incorrect because blah blah blah, and it's just not a good look.
Well, it's like, you ever see how awkward like Seat Story Cup is sometimes, right? Like when even the home stories, when they just pull the pros off of their computer and make them sit on the couch and cast. Like sometimes it's pretty hard to watch. Like, there's a reason that some people are paid to do it.
Yeah. It's almost like it's a craft. Last Discord question here, and then we've got a couple of Twitch questions before we get going. I'm going to paraphrase this one a little bit, but when you found out you were casting in Overwatch League with Semler, obviously you'd never casted with Semler, and you had notoriously been casting with ZP for quite some time. What was it like going from being in basically a set caster duo for years to a brand new caster who hadn't really even, to my knowledge, done Overwatch before?
Well, he did the TBS.
Okay.
He did TBS.
E-League?
Yeah.
Did he? Okay. Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Him and Anders both did that one. So
yes,
he had some experience when the game was very young.
Mm-hmm.
Famously, ZP also did that, and I did not. So while me and ZP did work together like pretty consistently and pretty often, and we're associated with each other as we should be. We spent a lot of time casting. There were gigs that he got that I didn't. And we, and I had just spent time working with other people. So I don't know. This is a tough question to answer because there's an emotional response and then there's all sorts of responses. So I'm going to meander a little bit, I think.
Who, you?
Yeah. So I've been able to work with a lot of people before, and I think I've proven that time and again that my casting works with whoever I'm working with. I've worked with Jamerson and Jason previously. Both on Contender Season 0 and then in OWPS. I'd casted games with Solid Jake and Nathanius, and I think I've done a couple with Uber, and just like I've always been able to cast with other people. So the least of my concerns was like, am I going to be able to cast with someone? Because I'm confident enough that like, yeah, I can cast with anybody. I know I can. I've done it, and obviously Semler comes in with a reputation and a pedigree of like, this is one of the best CSGO casters to ever exist, and he's been doing this for 7 years. So I was more nervous of like, does he think like, am I going to be up to the task? But we'd spoken to each other and like, we just vibed right away. And I knew immediately, I'm like, oh, this can be fine. I like this guy. We get along. It might take us a bit to find our rhythm and to figure out our style, but like it's overall, this feels fine. I like him. I can work with him. And that's all that really matters. The ZP stuff, like, yeah, man, I mentioned the other day, like it was a really strange phone call because we had the same agent. My agent calls me first, and he goes, "Oh, I got some good news and I got some bad news." And I'm like, "Well, shit, what's the good news?" I was like, "Okay, so I got Contender Season 2, and the bad news is I didn't get out." Like, so I'm just preparing myself for the worst because I'm a cynic at sometimes.
Who, you?
Yeah. And he goes, "Well, you got Owl, but your buddy didn't, right?" And my heart just sank right there. I was crushed a little bit. I was like, shit, right? But at the same time, the first part of that sentence was, "You got Owl," like, so it's like,
right. You can't be too upset.
Yeah, what is this cocktail of emotions? I feel right. It's just like, this is the greatest thing this is everything I worked for so hard, and then it's like at the same time, there's a good friend of mine, and he didn't get everything he worked for so hard. So it's like, oh, what a brutal day this is. Then ZP and I talked, and if he had gotten it and I hadn't, I think it's not like I'd be like, well, don't take it, right? So it's just like, you have to do what you have to do, and there's business aspects to it and stuff. So yeah, I was gutted for him, and it was also the best day of my life. So it's just like, I've always been very capable of moving on very quickly from a bad thing to a positive thing. And so, when I didn't get a gig for like MLG Vegas or something that I really wanted, like I'm like, okay, well that sucks. When's my next gig? How much do I need to practice? Right. So you just move on as quickly as possible, and then. ZP and I talked and kind of got over it throughout the week and whatnot. Then I'm trying to make plans of like, when the hell do I get over to LA? Then I'm just trying to do the actual logistics life aspect of the entire thing. There's a lot to be done. And then, I look forward to like the positives of it. I'm like, all right, well, I get to work with someone new. He's super and then I didn't really met him, but I'm like, it's gonna be a great chance to really show what I have, just go forward and be the only direction is forward. So it was strange. I know the community reacted to it in a strange way, which also was always going to put Semler behind the 8 ball as far as criticism was concerned. The hardcore fans were like, this guy and not ZP, it's just like, whatever. He doesn't give a shit, but I really too much of the credit. But yeah, so I tried to, I dealt with like the weirdness of it and the kind of sadness for my friend, and then I tried to move forward and like to just be as happy as humanly possible and look forward to it as like a new opportunity. And that's all I could really do. I know that's like meandering and maybe not even be the answer, but that's kind of just like the run through of how that situation felt and went down. CP's doing fine. We had lunch the other day. He's got a good job down in Houston, and he still does contenders. He can do World Cup. CP's fine.
I thought that was a great answer. That I think you went even more into it than I was expecting. So that's awesome. And
the only problem with it for me personally was that you said I've always been really good at making a positive out of a negative. I'm paraphrasing there, and the Sour Patch Kids line was right there. You just didn't go
squandered.
With it,
Squandered.
I was having an actual human moment death blow, not everything.
You taught us. You taught the High Noon podcast how to sell out. We call it hexing out. We don't even call it selling out. It's because of you, my friend. So that's why you don't meet your heroes. I guess
that's why never meet your heroes unless they're drinking G Fuel. Okay, I'm not sponsored by G Fuel. Yeah.
I didn't sell out. I bought in. Remember?
Ooh, I like it a lot.
And you taught us how to deal with the criticism of being a sellout as well now. So we appreciate you for that as well. We do have a couple Twitch chat questions. If you are watching on Twitch chat, please hurry up and type them in, because when we run out, we're gonna cut it. Go. So feel free to get them in. Now, Hex, you described your relationship with Semler as a marriage, and with that and the fact that you guys are in front of a camera all the time, it means that you need a celebrity couple name, and chat wants to know what you think that should be. Do you approve of Semhex? I can rattle off a couple here. We've got Hexler, Semagrams, or chat also suggested Sexagrams.
No,
which is your favorite? What do you want your celebrity couple name to be?
No, I used to just switch my name to Hexagrams in TF2 when I was feeling frisky. I thought Sexler was always funny. It's like something you can't really say on air, but like it's probably the most unique combination of our names. Semhex was something that I think maybe Duncan Thorin had first come up with, because it's like Semtex, which is the explosion, right? That's kind of lame for me. Sexagrams is too much like my name. I don't know. Like Sexler is the one that I think sticks, and I think Zoe actually called us that once on air. So I find it funny. I just don't think we have the name to make like a proper duo name. But either to like Monty Doa, like you just say their full names.
Moa.
Yeah, and Uber X is easy. You just add
Uber
X to it, and also
Yeah.
Uber X is a car service. Like,
So is Uber Eats. But we won't
so
talk.
Semhex would be the PG version. Sexler is the one that makes me giggle. But I don't. We don't really like go by that anyway.
Sure.
These questions are sequenced very, very nicely here by chat. I appreciate that. Who would win in the Newly game, Brenshaw
Newlywed
or
game.
Sexler? What did I say?
Newly game.
Newlywed game.
Newlywed game.
Yeah.
That's interesting, because Bren and Sideshow have known each other for a very long time.
But are they married?
Yeah. I would say that our mature, Semler and I's mature now. We're thinking men, and those two are reactionary heathens. So that, like we would stop and think about the question, put ourselves in the other person's shoes. Have empathy with a fellow human being, whereas those young guns don't really. They're sociopaths. So I think we would win just based on the maturity factor, and then I think also they would just start fighting, and then you'd have to cut the whole scene.
A sidebar question that was from me. I actually had it in the questions list and took it out because I think we've asked it of people already. But are those two plus Reinforce, that comedy trio, are they absolutely that crazy off the air all the time, or is there any amount of front to it?
No, and like any good comedy routine, you have to have downtime and you gotta vary it up. So no, they're not constantly nuts. I think more of them. First time I spent a significant time with Bren and Sideshow. One, Sideshow made fun of Bren for like an hour, and I did not stop laughing. It was the funniest thing I'd ever seen. And then Bren is just, I think I dubbed him the harmless maniac, because he's a maniac. He was like stealing signs from the hotel and just doing weird shit, but it was all harmless, right? But it's like
it's like boys will be boys.
Yeah, he's harmless, but he's a maniac. They're also like, despite the internet's perception of them, they're also both very kind and intelligent human beings, which is why it's so funny to watch them act like absolute buffoons so much. So. And then Johnny's just like really working on playing right now. He's like on Team Sweden, so Johnny just rolls his eyes and he's like, these guys. So Johnny's funny his own way.
I feel like Johnny is like a Full House dad that just inherited the Olsen twins of Bren and Sideshow. That's like,
yeah. Yeah, those two are those. I mean, like, look, everyone's just great. Those two are funny. They kind of crack me up.
I will never forget the sight of Bren bathing in a kitchen sink. That will never fully leave me.
My therapist says I will never forget it either.
And then the last one here from Twitch chat: any personal hopes for expansion team cities for season 2? Or even beyond season 2. What are your dream cities to be in Overwatch?
I don't think we're gonna get it. But yeah, obviously anything in the Midwest I would root for. Yeah, like so in Wisconsin we didn't have a hockey team, so everyone rooted for like the Red Wings just because you're not gonna root for the Chicago team. But I lived in Chicago, I lived in Milwaukee, I lived in Michigan. Really anywhere in the Midwest would be fine by me, just to rep my hometown Midwest a little bit. Beyond that, you know, like if the league expands and I get to travel and go do stuff, I would love a team in Prague. It's one of my favorite cities in the world. So Prague, or like, you know, anywhere in Central Europe I find is really cool. But as far as like wearing a t-shirt, obviously first on my list would be Milwaukee. That's not going to happen. Milwaukee can barely support a basketball team. They can't support a hockey team. Now they're going to support an Overwatch team. The most logical one would be Chicago. So I would rep a Chicago t-shirt pretty hard. But anything in the Midwest, because I know that that region is starving for it. There's a lot of really cool stuff happening in the Midwest, homegrown wise, in Columbus and in Chicago, and all these cool cities are doing their own Overwatch stuff. So it'd be nice to be able to have people travel to an arena that they can support. So anywhere in the Midwest, you know me, man, born and bred. Well, not born and bred. Well, kind of. Bred, raised in the Midwest. That 1 year of my life I spent in Oklahoma.
Yep, I have that same problem where I can't say born and raised with a straight face.
I was raised largely in Wisconsin, so Illinois and Wisconsin, and I spent most of my life in the Midwest. So I'm always kind of hoping for the Midwest, but I think they've done a really good job with the city so far. I think Atlanta was a little bit surprising to me, but when I stopped to think about it, I'm like, that is a killer sports town. They support the hell out of their teams, even when their teams are trash. So just as far as fan base goes and like how, you know, regionality goes, I think that was a good choice. But some of the stuff's been surprising to me. I don't know any of it, read it all like you guys, but I guess hometown pick, just, you know, Chicago makes the most sense.
I'm upset about how many times born and raised was said there and nobody said anything about spending most of their days on a playground.
It's because I didn't. It's because I didn't. I was not born and raised in West Philadelphia. Okay, that is going to wrap it up. Hex, thanks so much for being on. The floor is now yours. Plug what you're doing, shout outs, whatever you want.
Yeah, I'm usually pretty bad at this. Follow me on Twitter. My name is just Hexagrams on Twitter. And then I'm going to stream a little bit. And my gameplay, you know, I'm just kind of working on getting better at every hero. I don't really care what my SR is right now. Maybe stream tonight. I'm kind of tired, but we'll see if coffee can bring me there. That'd be like in 90 minutes or so. I'm going to take a little bit of a break after this. But Twitch TV/Hexagrams. So I'm just Hexagrams everywhere for the most part. This name has gotten me most of my socials. And then if you want any other information on me, it's my pinned tweet on Twitter. And I think that's it. I think that's all I'm
When are the VOD reviews? Because
there's going to be another VOD review on Friday. I believe I'm going to do Avril, who is an Australian caster, does that region. So Avril and Pixie worked together for a while. I've done a review for them before, so like this review series is not new. It's just streaming it is new. I do a ton of review for whoever wants it. Send me a VOD and I'll do it. And then I have Kenobi, who does Broadcast GG, lined up after that sometime. So I'm going to try to do it every couple days as long as people keep sending me VODs. I think people find it interesting. So yeah, the next VOD review is going to be Friday at, I believe, 4 p.m. Pacific, because we're trying to work around Australia's time.
So are you reviewing their casts, or are you reviewing...
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not qualified to do anything else except review the cast. It's something I've always been interested in on myself. When I was a writer, I was always a very good editor. So it's just like looking at other people and seeing what they do well and what they do wrong is something. And, you know, I review my own stuff as much as possible, but I think it's helpful for me to review other people, and hopefully they get something out of it as well. And I think maybe the audience does too. But I've been doing VOD review for whoever wants it for forever. Now I just happen to have finally installed OBS. So that's really the only difference between the two things. So hopefully at least once a week. I know I got some stuff in the queue, so once a week I'm going to do casting review if you want to learn about what I think is good casting or bad casting, or what works well, and what I think that maybe going forward, the way that Overwatch should be broadcasted, and just kind of my opinions and stuff on it. You know, I've been doing it for a little bit. I think I learned one or two things along the way.
Awesome. Well, guys, make sure you do check out Hexagrams on all those places and root for them in the All-Star Game talent takedown, because apparently you need the help according to the other team. I don't think it's going to be close.
Don't let us down, Hex. We believe in you. We're betting on you.
Yeah, we bet a significant amount of money on your team. So just so you know. But that is going to be it, guys. Again, huge thanks to Hexagrams for coming on the show. For Hexagrams, for Deathblow, I'm the Blevins. This has been the episode number 1 of the Owl Talent Cast. I don't know what I'm going to call it. I need to figure out a better name. But Overwatch League people thing interview. Episode number 1, Hexagrams. We'll see you guys. I've already got someone lined up for the next one, but I'll announce it on Twitter who it's going to be. We'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.